There is no need for me to go and learn science. Science for what?
Science for what? Science for what?
Science for what?
See, if you're a chef,
I would only have to learn business and then the vocational.
how to receive the money?
Yeah,
it's just the money is just concentration. See, let me tell you, you have to know the ingredients that you need to add. What
I did there is not helping me.
Inside.
It's not helping me.
You know, there was this video that was trending about a man, and it was like per hour square. But yeah, about it.
Yeah, no. I mean, blacks are no. Then we don't put it to use. We don't put that per hour square to use because in your cars, in your plane. But go and see. That's what we are doing. That's it. Madam, listen. You think Yeti Hana, money, telephone? You think the per hour square in your money now?
That asserting there, it should be purposely for those engineers.
She's asking a question. If you go for a job interview, I don't know that's what's past.
Because of Newton's first lawyer then. Is it not English?
See, boss, the thing is, let's look at this issue. Messi, let's calm down. Of course, too much and our baby. Sir, I said me so busy or busy cry. What do you think? Where's that come from? It's my moral education. It's not ethics, anything. It's not.
Who did pre-tech here? So are you guys architects now?
But I'm able to knock wood to wood. You said you were 11. You were 11 when you knew.
Oh, it's okay. I read in the mirror like trying to read this and all that.
And 11 years is when you calculate it and you go to school like at a very calculated age. 11 years is when
like class 6
Form 1 officially. So when you're in Form 1 and you're able to tell you will be a journalist by that age.
And I'm still learning pre-tech. And I'm still planning.
You should be confused. Grouped. You know, within that classes like JHS 1 to 3, you should be grouped by then to know that okay, you are becoming a bank manager. So maybe you get courses around that area. So you don't wait to get to university and pay a lot of money before you get like lessons on things like that.
What's your point in time? I asked my mom, me a general art school. Calling me who general art courses be on me. It's either I'm going there for fashion, and a fashion institute. I don't have any idea. Mini accounting who any idea. Mini purchasing and supplying who any idea. She was there, and she was like, "Oh, I am Pomomo." That is why I'm telling you, sir, what you are saying, this religious and moral, we need it in our everyday life. It opens up our mind. But we do JSS, we do JSS 1. It's a competition within a class. I'm not saying that you should drop it. Drop it. But it helps you. The main point is that we do JSS. Besides
me, Papa, when I was a kid, some years you here. You are short, you write it down. If the day make a saw electricity plug, the beam, you write it down. Today on this day, after this, and that.
What are you DB, Anna?
Oh no,
DB.
No, I'm not DB. My Papa, listen, I learned that from I saw that in my father. And he always thought say the child growing up or raising. So everything the child does, it's something that's led to something. It's leading to.
My mom was like, Akola will be a lawyer. Every blessed day over whom there was some crochet will be die a hole.
So when lawyers for TV soon, I will be good to so. But then were you behaving as a lawyer? Were you asking questions? Whenever daddy said, did you ask daddy why?
It's not like Miss Shokra. It's not like Miss Shokra. What do you say if the chance was there and coming a lawyer?
It's been a heated argument with these amazing folks here, and remember, you watching home can partake in this discussion. Just log on to our social media platforms. On Facebook is News on TV3, and on Twitter is our News TV3. Our WhatsApp line is 050-823-5228. Just send us your comment, and we're always ready to read them and share them with the rest of the world. We came to you from Rage here in Accra. Thanks for watching, and keep watching NewDay.
Welcome back. Daily Graphic is starting the morning. President launches free senior high school tomorrow. the West African Senior High School gets the privilege of that launch at Adentan. That's the big one on the front page of the Daily Graphic. And then freight forwarders frustrating the paperless operation at the ports. That's on the Daily Graphic. The Statesman says, Mahama Unity Walk deepens NDC confusion. A photograph of the former president there. And Daily Guide also carries the same story. NDC splits over Mahama Unity Walk. Backbane spew, Sly stay away. You can see a photograph of the Member of Parliament there, Urban Backbane there. Ghanaian Times says government disburses 20% free senior high school funds. That's Dr. Dichum there. A new Dagbon Peace Initiative launched in Tamale. And the Finder says that I will support Roadmap for Peace in Dagbon. President assures the launch of the peace there. Other papers have some more interesting stories. We'll try and take a look at all of them. My guest this morning to do the talking to my immediate left is a Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, a member of the NPP's communication team, Eric Amakuchum. Good morning.
Good morning, Brian.
Hope you're doing great.
I'm very well. How are you?
I am also good. Thanks for your Monday morning with us. And then a member of the NDC's communication team and the legal practitioner, Brian Malibai, is also with me. Good morning, too.
Good morning, Brian.
Hope you're doing good.
Very well.
Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Let's start with a big one. The Times says that government disperses 20% free senior high school funds. That's from the Education Minister. The Daily Graphic says President launches free senior high school tomorrow. WAS gets that opportunity. We're told by the Daily Graphic, that today, Monday, all senior high schools across the country, public senior high schools, will reopen. And ordinarily, the reopening would have passed without any fanfare, as the reopening of senior high school is a normal occurrence. However, this particular reopening is significant in more ways than one. In the first place, it is the first time in many years that the first year and continuing students are reporting to school on the same day. More importantly, today marks the beginning of the government's eagerly awaited flagship educational program, the Free Senior High School. That's the story on the Daily Graphic. We're told that 140,000 students are either not placed by the CSSPS or placed but do not enroll, largely because of financial barriers every year. That's why this enrollment is significant. Now, for the launch, all SHS throughout the country to prepare and ready themselves to welcome fresh students to begin the academic year today. President Nana Addo is expected to officially launch the program at the West African Senior High School at Adentan in the Greater Accra region tomorrow. Daily Graphic said it visited WAS yesterday, and it's observed that all the curbs on the road leading to WAS were being whitewashed, while all outgrown weeds had been mowed to give the entrance of the school a facelift. This is to welcome the guests. And the paper has statistics of dropouts due to financial difficulties. Eric, let me start with you. Officially and finally, we have lived to see the beginning of this policy today. Sure, students with their trunks and chop boxes are getting to the various compounds of senior high schools to begin their academic work at the senior high school level. For government, it's been some hard work. What has been the level of hard work put into reaching where we are?
Thank you very much, Bright. Good morning to our viewers, and then to my friend here. I'm not sure if he was at the Unity walk, but I think that it's imperative to situate this conversation on the conviction of the president, who, I mean, for time immemorial, has really espoused the idea of improving our education sector, and then also making sure that the ordinary Ghanaian youth gets an opportunity in life. And for me, today marks a significant day in the history of this country, more so for a lot of parents who would have found it extremely difficult to send their wards to secondary schools. And then also for children who, of course, would get an opportunity to make something out of life, especially when you come from a background which is extremely difficult.
Right.
I'm almost, I'd say, emotional about it, because I think that just exactly about 30 years ago, I went to Form 1. And I can appreciate the sort of difficulties that my mother, for instance, had to go through for me to get into school. I remember that it wasn't easy at all. Now, what it does is that even though she struggled to take me through to school today, a lot of other kids probably wouldn't have gotten that opportunity. Look at me sitting here today, by dint of being able to get some education along the way. So it's important to situate it in that context. This is not politics. This is about the well-being of the ordinary Ghanaian. And there's absolutely no way we can develop as a nation without having education, without having masses of our people being educated to a certain level. Regardless of where you truncate it, what it will mean is that with the president's vision of actually redefining what basic education is, which is basically making sure that even in the least opportunity that you have, you should be able to at least truncate your education at the SHS level. What it means is that you're going to get better drivers, you're going to get better farmers, you're going to get better teachers, we're going to get carpenters, masons, people who would have some level of basic level of education to be able to appreciate the modern trends that is going on in almost every facet of our life. For me, that is the most important thing. And the fact that this president has shown commitment to be able to deliver on this flagship educational project. And I know for a fact that it's not going to just end here. Right? This is essentially the catalyst for changing the whole educational sector. So for me, it's extremely important. It's something that all well-meaning Ghanaians would find a laudable idea, and everybody should support it. Anybody that has some sort of misgivings or issues with implementation or whatsoever has the right to do so. But it is not to say that this is a bad policy. Right. Because anybody that goes that tangent means that we shouldn't even do anything in this country. And I believe strongly that this one single act by the president will be a catalyst for development in this country.
I see. So in this direction, what do you make of the concerns being raised by some people, civil society, political parties, particularly the opposition, and they say that there are certain challenges that government should have dealt with before rolling out this program?
I mean, for civil society, I think that they are, by their very design, that is exactly what they're meant to do, to essentially direct government and also contribute to policy initiatives and then conversations. I have absolutely no problem with that. But when it's coming from the NDC, I have a big challenge, because the NDC just left power 8 months ago. Right? So as I sit here, if those things that they are talking about today were implemented by them, then this government would have used it as a platform to initiate this policy. But they didn't do so. So I don't even know where they get that moral obligation or moral right to even start a conversation about this should have been put in place, this should have been put in place. It is mere opposition antics that they're actually playing. But that is actually going to anger Ghanaians the more. This is a political party that has opposed every single thing that the NPP had decided to do. I'll give you a typical example. They opposed Metro Mass. They came to try and initiate it. They messed it up. They opposed the president's idea of the Northern Development Authority at the time. They came, the president, the vice president at the time, who became president, President John Mahama, actually went out there and intimated that it's a useless idea. We should rather use the money to pay for toll debt or something like that. He came, they tried to initiate SADA, they ruined it. Even the National Health Insurance, the NDC walked out of Parliament. They said it wasn't successful. So for them, it's everything that the NPP decides to initiate is something that they are opposed to. However, they find a way of trying to even implement it, and then they ruin it. We all know the classic cases of corruption that emanated from SADA. We know what has happened to the National Health Insurance, and the president is basically making all attempts to be able to revamp it. So this is the NDC. Okay. They will absolutely not say anything. But what is their track record? This is a party that promised XTS took the former president, may so rest in peace, Mills, to Tesano somewhere to cut the sod. The project never started. Right, these are the same people that promised Ghanaians at one time NHIS premium. It didn't come into fruition. So that is the difference between the MPP and the NDC. We say we will do it, and we are going to do it.
I'm grateful, Eric. Mr. Malba, so the takeoff is this morning, and government says a lot of work is going into it, and Eric has reiterated that, suggesting that indeed this is a program that is not stopping here. Perhaps there is more coming up as far as enhancing Ghana's educational sector is concerned. That is government or Mr. Eric Chum's position.
Let me start by saying good morning to your viewers. Right. The promise that the MPP gave in respect to this free SHS is not what they are implementing. I've reiterated this point several times. I've indicated that what we are seeing is free first year SHS, and that must be told. I can understand if a group of people in opposition lie their way to government. I can understand and I can forgive them because they want power. But I cannot understand and I will not forgive a person who is in government having lied his way into government and continue lying to the people of this country. How? It's not just morally wrong.
If you say lying, how?
It's not just morally wrong, but it is also a bad governance practice. I say lie because the MPP, in the lead up to these elections, the last elections, indicated that they were going to provide free basic senior, free SHS to all students at the SS level. They said so. And so parents voted for them based on this promise. To now come into government and now begin to say that they are going to start with the first years. Nobody is saying that free SHS is bad. We have not said that. Indeed, the NDC itself, in our manifesto, at page 10, the opening paragraph indicated that we would continue with the progressively free SHS. We started a progressive free SHS by even absorbing fees of first year students at the day schools and took an equivalent of that from the boarding students. So it was progressive. So in our case, we said that we must progressively implement it. Why? Why did we take this step? We took this step because you don't open the floodgates if you are not prepared for the floods. Where are the schools, the infrastructure to hold the students? To hold them. You remember we went for 4 years SHS. They introduced that. And by the time the students got to the school, there were no buildings, no classrooms to hold the students. You remember that? Some students were put in headmasters' garages. It was under their turn. By God's intervention, the NDC came to power, and we had to quickly fix that, to build more schools, more classrooms, to fix that. Today, when we were building the schools, the E-blocks, and we captured some in our green book, Nana Akufo-Addo then said that these were Photoshop. You remember that? Today, this same president, who is implementing his flagship, has sent students to those schools. How come? Schools that were ghosts. So, this free SHS is being implemented on the background that the NDC had built some infrastructure, which is making it possible for them to do what they are doing.
Which there's nothing wrong with.
There's nothing wrong with, because that was even our plan. We said we will build the schools. We've built 70 of them. 40. I'm sure they have sent students to those schools. Even if it is one, let's say one. One would have added to the number of schools that Nkrumah built Achampon build, Kotoka build, up to Professor Mills. One would have added to that. So I am saying that let's be candid with the people. Let's tell the people that what we are implementing today is not free SHS. It is free first year SHS. And that must be told.
But has the government explained itself that, look, this is only the beginning, and that next year, the next 3 years, we will find all streams, 1, 2, 3.
Bright, I made a point that as a government, you don't lie. I am saying that when they were making the promises to the people, is that what they told the people?
Okay.
That's my point. So if today they are saying that they are starting with the first years, they should be candid to say that when we were campaigning, when we were making those promises, we didn't know that we couldn't perform in that way. Now we have come, the people of this country, we are starting with the first years. Because as I speak, parents of those in second and third years are angry that the policy is not covering them. And I think that it behoves the government to apologize to those parents who voted for this government simply because they wanted their wards to go to school.
So those are parents perhaps who have spoken to you?
These are parents who have indicated they have expressed their frustration at what has happened. And I've heard some of them. Indeed, even this policy was not without difficulties. This implementation today is starting today was not without difficulties. Why? Didn't we see some people who were sent to schools where they physically couldn't have gone to?
But, I mean, that isn't new, Mr. Amanda.
And I'm saying that
every year we find
thing
and I'm saying that
it is not
schools.
Without challenges. That doesn't mean that when the challenges were there, this time we shouldn't talk about them. Okay. It was not without challenges. Indeed, the monies, as we speak, has not hit some people's account. The schools, some headmasters were still complaining as Friday. But the minister said that it's in the process and that it will hit by Monday. But largely, the concerns are not coming from the NDC alone. The concerns are also coming from NAGRAT, who are saying that we should hasten slowly. We, in the opposition, would monitor what is happening. This morning, we will monitor. We will look at areas that are not being implemented smoothly, and we'll draw the government attention to it and tell the people of this country what is happening. That's the work of the opposition, and we'll continue doing it.
I'm grateful. We'll leave we'll leave it at that. Except I recognize something you want to react.
I find the NDC's angle on this free SHS quite strange and surreal. Now, they have moved away from it's not possible after finding out that in reality it's here to stay with us, to the fact that the NPP, whilst in opposition, promised something and this is not free SHS. I know for a fact that the parents and children going to school today would be happy with the fact that they are not supposed to be burdened with those financial constraints that would have hitherto prevented well-meaning Ghanaians and children to be able to have access to free SHS. And that is exactly what the president has done and has shown commitment to do it. As for opposition, they can oppose as much as they want. But the most important thing is that who are they opposing for? This is a policy that is meant to inure to the benefit of the average Ghanaian. And you sit here and you say that you are actually now going to nitpick and find issues with the implementation of it. Fair enough. But as far as I'm concerned...
Are you suggesting there are no issues?
No, but of course.
The president himself has said that there will be challenges.
Of course, there will be challenges.
Right, and that's what he said.
It is extremely illogical to even suggest or even attempt to suggest that because there are going to be challenges or there would be some kind of hiccups in the implementation of it. Every single thing should be almost ironed out before the implementation of it. Then, well, if you say that, it means that we will not be able to do anything in this country. You understand me? But the point is that the NDC has a track record in government, and they left government 8 months ago. And I'm saying to them, I'm suggesting to them that, listen, all the things that they are talking about, it's not the making of an MPP administration. right, if they have put in place these measures, right, we will not be talking about them today. But the ministry is also committed to making sure that if there are challenges in the implementation of the policy, it will be dealt with alacrity. So I don't even see where the conversation is going.
I'm grateful. For instance,
Mr. Man, before you come in, we knew all this while that when the finance minister read the budget, he had set aside money. Or proposed money for the implementation of the free access. I mean, why have we waited to today that we are sending money to them when we knew students will go to school today?
Listen, right. I mean, come on. This is an environment where this is being initiated for the very first time, right, in this volume. And see, bear in mind that even this free SHS thing is something that is already pertaining in the 3 northern regions of this country. You know that, right?
It is not. It's just they are feeding that is paid. It's not free.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is
they are fed free, but it is not entirely free.
Yes, but so it's something that has been initiated for time memorial. What it's happening today for me is basically spreading across the entire length and breadth of this country. You see, the NDC also make this argument, which I find illogical, that there's no dedicated. How can there be no dedicated source of funding for this project when the Ministry of Finance, through the minister, had actually made provision for that? But I want to ask them this question.
So the key question is, if the Minister of Finance had made a commitment to that effect, why has the money delayed to today?
The money has not delayed. As
of Friday, we were told that money will hit account on Friday or this morning.
Yes, but I'm saying that, as far as I'm concerned today, 20% of the monies for the implementation of this policy has already gone out. And see, the funny thing is that the NDC keeps talking about dedicated sources of funding and all that. Did we have dedicated sources of funding when we paid 53 million Ghana cedis to Woyomi? Did we have dedicated sources of funding when we paid 25 million to this Asontaba, Better Ghana Services and all of those people to take our money and use the money to rear I confirm that actually found its way into Burkina Faso? Did we have dedicated sources of funding when we spent all this money at SNIT? Did we have dedicated sources of funding when we spent 3.2 million Ghana cedis putting pictures of ex-presidents on a bus? So the conversation is not, you see, when you do that, I feel that you actually anger.
Eric, you are suggesting that it is wrong to ask that show us how you're going to run the system.
They have members of parliament from their side in parliament.
Under the Public Financial Management Act, such policies should have. Let me ask you the question. Under the Public Finance Management Act, such policies should have a clear indication of how it will be funded. Is it wrong to ask how it will be funded?
Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But my point is that they have members of parliament from their side who sits in parliament. When the minister went there, right, where the budget was read, and they had opportunity to actually scrutinize the budget and make suggestions and all of those things, and go ahead and approve it. Now, that essentially was the first budget that was read, right? We have a 4-year mandate. The subsequent budgets are going to be read, and these things will be dealt with. Because the point is that this is not a policy that is going to, it's not a one-off policy. It's something that would sustain in the next few years, to eternity, basically, if we don't try something new. But the point is very simple. So to ask these questions, when we have seen a government dissipate our resources unnecessarily by inflating contracts over in excess of 100, 150 million and all that, and for them to have the audacity to even ask the average Ghanaian that, where are we going to find money to implement the free SHS? For me, I think that is unconscionable.
I see. Mr. Maba, wrap up for me. I wanted us to move to the next. But he says that you don't even have the moral right to be asking these questions.
That is because their understanding of democracy is warped. That you tell a whole opposition in a country that we don't have a moral right to ask questions. That's a warped argument.
Because according to him, you misuse that is because you misuse our resources. And so if you misuse our resources, why are you asking government where it's going to get money from to fund the SHS?
We misuse resources. They are in government today. Why don't they go ahead to prosecute people who have misused resources? I'm not going to sit here, because we will hold them accountable when we also come to government. Indeed, when they left government and Professor Mills took over, they misused resources and we held them accountable.
And what
so
happened?
the point is that will you ask him to behave like the way I behaved? Would you ask him to behave that when he's speaking, I am uncomfortable, but I'm able to check myself? Ask him to do so.
Okay, please go ahead. Eric, you allow him to go ahead.
He makes spurious allegations that NDC said that it couldn't be done. And now we have moved to progressive free. It has always been the NDC's stand. And indeed, the original argument of the NDC is that this free education that the SSGS that Nana Akufo-Addo is talking about, it's not his brainchild. The original argument of the NDC has been that it is in the Constitution. We have always said that. But we said that the difference is progressive. Look, I am going to read our 2016 manifesto at page 10. Just the opening paragraph, which is just some 2 lines. We have introduced social interventions in the education sector, including the implementation of the progressively free senior high school program. And you want to tell the people of this country we are against senior high school free education? Book no lie. The point is not about whether funds were dissipated. The point is that we are talking about this free SHS. We in opposition have every right to find out where you are going to get the resources for, where is your blueprint. We'll continue asking those questions. And when we ask those questions, we are doing that because we are a responsible opposition. You leave office, and when you leave office, there will be a government in place. There will not be a vacuum. And so if you are in opposition now and you don't hold the government accountable, check them on what they do. When you come into government, how are you going to implement policies that you have envisaged? So it is only a communicator who does not understand what democracy is about, who question why the opposition is holding the government accountable. And that for me is a kind of warped argument that I would think any communicator would put across. But in this implementation of the free SHS, what we have come to understand is that the MPP is making this policy a highly political one, politicizing it to the high heavens.
How?
Today, he has worn a T-shirt that it is free SHS. It's a MPP free SHS.
Do you see an MPP
now,
description here?
The point is that
I'm making my point. No,
but do you see an MPP logo
Mr. Maliba, okay, so the T-shirt he's wearing is what we're all seeing. Why is it an MPP free SHS?
You don't understand my submission.
Okay,
I'm
so
saying that they have made it highly political.
How is that political?
Are you going to tell me how to make myself
you explain why it is political. Eric, you allow him to go on. You explain why
they have made it highly political, and that it is their baby. Care must be taken so that if they are not in government, this policy would continue.
So
once the NDC is in power, they might truncate.
I'm saying that I'm giving advice, and I'm saying that they shouldn't make it highly political, so that when this the government is not in place, the next government would continue with it, and it will be a national program and not just an MPP baby. The over-politicization is what I am saying, that they should carry everybody along. Even we in the NDC have not said that the program is wrong or is bad. What we are simply saying is that this is not what you promise the people of this country. You promise them more, but you are giving them little. That is our argument.
I'm grateful. Eric, quickly, let me, Mr. Abba, give me the heritage, but let's deal with this first. And Eric, don't put the newspaper on your microphone. Sorry. This is your microphone. Let's touch on this one. Daily Guide and Statesman says, Mahama, you need to walk deepens NDC confusion. Daily Guide says, NDC splits over Mahama, you need to walk. And the paper says, Bagbane, spew, sly, stay away from the walk. Quick, just 1 or 2 paragraphs. It says that the so-called unity walk by the opposition NDC to bring all factions together has rather ended up creating more confusion in the party, as anti-Mahama elements see the whole exercise as a subtle attempt to impose the former president on the party as the 2020 flag bearer. Mr. Amaliba, is this what you also see with the unity walk?
Let me say that if you read further, the newspapers are quoting one Dela Kofi. And I think that Dela Kofi is not speaking for any of these persons that, and they've not authorized him to speak for them. The unity walk was organized by the party, and that is why you saw the General Secretary partake in the unity walk. The unity walk is not to say that the NDC is disunited, but the unity walk was meant to ensure that we ginger our base. The base, the grassroots, have been yearning for a gathering of this nature. Ever since we lost power, the NDC has never come together. Seeing what the administration, the current administration is doing, and knowing that the Ghanaian people are yearning for a much better delivery of governance as compared to what we are seeing, our base were of the view that why can't we come together and send a signal to the government that the preferred choice is the NDC. So this unity walk was put together by the party. It was not everybody who was able to make it to Kumasi, to Tamale. I did not see my party chairman there. That didn't mean that he's angry or he's not united with the party. So if you didn't see some people there, it didn't mean that they were angry with what took place in Tamale. The Tamale gathering was successful indeed. The crowd, the mammoth crowd that came out, sent signals to our opponents that the NDC is still alive and kicking. And so when you take one person and take his comments in the person of Dela Kofi and make it a banner headline, when you've not spoken to those persons that you are mentioning in your newspaper, whether they sanctioned what he said. I remember Ekospio Gabriel coming out to make a disclaimer against some people who said that he was going to run. And he said that no, he has not asked them to say those things. When the time comes, yes. For now, he's interested in the unity of the party, just like all of them will say, and all of us will say, that we are interested in bringing everybody together. So this is just a statement from one Dela Kofi, which has been blown out of proportion, and those persons that are being quoted in there have not indicated that they share his views.
You think one person's concern is not legitimate?
I've not said that. They are quoting some people in the party and saying that that is why they were not there. And I'm saying that this is just one person's view. And I've not said that that person's view should not be considered. I'm saying that you don't take that person's view, go ahead and quote and mention some people's name there and say because of that, that's why they were there.
You know there is going to be a contest ahead of 2020. You don't think that given the former president who is has a right to decide to contest or not, will give the impression to the other persons who are likely to contest, giving him the chance to lead such a walk, it creates a perception that there are attempts to impose him on the party?
Is it now wrong to partake in an NDC-sponsored program? Is it wrong for an NDC member? Then all those who were in Kumasi, Tamale, I don't know why I'm saying Kumasi, all those who were in Tamale should be held accountable for attending the program. The former president is a member of the NDC. There's an NDC program. He attends, and that must be an issue for discussion. If he has stayed away, It will be an issue for discussion. He has attended as a genuine member, a committed member who is supposed to attend programs of the NDC. He's attended. That's also a matter of a discussion. I think that there's too much indiscipline in the party at this moment. That is my view. And the party must begin to crack the whip. There's too much indiscipline in this party. And I think the time has come for the party, the hierarchy of the party, the elders of the party to begin to crack the whip. We need sanity. The people of this country cannot afford for another MPP 2020.
I'm grateful.
We need to come together and wrestle power out of the hands of these people.
I'm grateful. Eric, that's the two big headlines of Daily Guidance Statesman suggesting that this is an attempt to force the president on the party. Is that what you see too?
Well, that is an internal matter for the NDC. I would have expected that those individuals, including the former president himself, would have used that opportunity to reflect on the 8 years of corruption and mismanagement, and the fact that they even chose a location that was meant to benefit from this SADA policy that they woefully mismanaged it to the realms of almost absurdity in terms of how monies were plundered, and nothing is there to be seen after spending more than 250 million Ghana cedis on the SADA project, or even more, based on where we are sitting at the moment. Now, this is a work that essentially was put together to mock Ghanaians, to basically show us that, listen, all the monies that we've taken and we've stolen, and we're still showing our protruding stomachs, and we want to go out there and basically do some sort of exercise to bring it down. That's fine. That's the NDC. That does not bring the bread and butter issues to the fore. This morning, we are talking about Ghanaians from all walks of this length and breadth of this country who are going to benefit from the free SHS. So if the NDC, in one way or the other, attempts to go out there on some merry dance and play some music and what we call jama, and walk through the principalities of Tamale, so be it, but it's of no consequence. And I'll ask this question: where is the founder of the party? The founder of the party is meant to be the fulcrum, the focal person when it comes to these things. He was not there. Other leading members of the party were not there. Now, apart from that, this is meant to be a political party that said that they were so united just about 8 months ago. And all of a sudden, the center cannot hold, is broken, and it's become the most indisciplined political party from my friend here at Maliba. So this is even more deceitful than anything, that they claim that they were united, they were disciplined, and all of those things. And now today, after 8 months, they become indisciplined and they've become disunited. That is the NDC for you. In any case, what is it that they were working for? What is the unity that they're working for? So that they show Ghanaians that, yeah, we've taken all these things, but we are still hale and hearty and we're walking around. No. The most important thing is that Ghanaians know that they don't want to go back to the 8 years of mismanagement. And I would ask, why is the NDC so quick to go and organize press conferences about legitimate government business that has been done and refuse to even comment on the rot that they superintended over? For example, SNIT. I haven't heard the minorities' position on what transpired in SNIT. They haven't made any submission on that, have they? No. However, when the Ministry of Finance goes and signs an agreement or buys bonds or does all sorts of things, or they even find their voices when it comes to free SHS and say that it's not possible and there are challenges and everything, why are they not talking about the rot that they superintended over? That is the question that we should be asking them. So really, if they want to go on a walk, they should by all means do that. Okay. But the point is that that will not mean anything. It's of no consequence to the New Patriotic Party. It's of no consequence to the government. And I would have felt ashamed as a member of the NDC to have even gone to the Tamale to do that work, especially when the Sada Enclave was one of the classical examples of their mismanagement. When you go and plant trees in Hamatan seasons and a confirmed runs away from the country and all of those things, people superintend over Sada and take our money, 140,000, 150,000, and take a trip to Turkey and all of those. All these examples are there. right? So I would have expected that. We'll go there and apologize to the people and say, listen, we promised you X, Y, and we're not able to do it. We're actually coming to ask for forgiveness, rather than go there and flaunt your big V8s and everything, walk from about 10 meters away and sit in your cars and go away, and then you say that you're going to do what?
Right, you see?
I'm grateful.
You see?
Talking about corruption, this is the first time in the history of the Fourth Republic that you hear acts of corruption emanating from the Flagstaff House in 6 months of a government, a political party's reign in government. 6 months, just 6 months.
How?
Just 6 months, you have allegations that the 2 deputy ministers, deputy chief of staff, are engaged in acts of corruption right in the nose of the president. Right
They are allegations.
President
I'm saying that
directed that
I'm
it's
saying
investigated,
that,
isn't it?
I'm saying that this is the first time. It's a record. First 6 months that it's happening there. And this, a communicator belonging to that government, sitting here and pontificating. So if in first 6 months, we have got this massive corruption coming from the Flagstaff House, what will happen if you go to 8 years? That's how you should start counting. The next point is, what has happened to the boss saga issue? The president, who said he was going to fight corruption himself, came out and gave a clean bill of health to the transaction, because according to him, it has been happening in the previous administration, and that if it is happening now, it is okay.
Is it not under investigation too?
I'm saying that if you have a president who can jump the gun, if you say it's an investigation, if you have a president who can jump the gun and give a clean bill of health to a transaction which is under investigation, then you can understand the kind of president we are talking about. If you have a government whose deals, and I'm talking about the Ken Bond issue, is a subject matter for investigation, just in 6 months, then you can tell the people of this country what they should be expecting. Because in these early days, having come into government on the back of fighting corruption, one would have expected that these things will not happen now. But even whilst the president was nominating and appointing his ministers, there were allegations of corruption leveled against one of his appointees. And what did the president do? And what did the president do?
Nothing came out.
What did the president do? Before they could even set up a committee in parliament, the president went ahead and appointed a man to become a minister. Is this a president? Is this a Magafuli? Is this the kind of president we are looking for? So, look, Nana Akufo-Addo is not the man to fight corruption. I am told that the allegations against the 2 deputy chief of staff,
but are we
they have
talking
been,
about the NDC
they have been,
are we talking about the NDC unity?
They have been.
This is the confusion.
Brian,
Eric, you allow him to allow him to wrap up.
I asked him specific questions, and he was not able to answer.
Okay.
So ask him to stick to the subject.
You allow him to wrap up. I'll come to you.
So if you then sit here and talk about corruption and say that the NDC engage in corruption, remove the log in your eye first.
But I mentioned
before. I'm saying that remove the log in your eye first. Remove the log in your eye. The log in your eye is the 2 deputy ministers. The log in your eye is the boss saga. The log, if you don't understand English, the log in your eye is the Ken Boy. Remove those ones first before you can talk about other ones.
All right. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Let me touch the heritage and deal with this one quickly before. There's a story on page 3 that says a state attorney cut to size. Now, Chief State Attorney from the Attorney General's Department, Jasmine Ama, was last Friday cut to size by an Accra High Court judge when she subjected the judge to constant ridicule and giggle in the case in which an Indian investor, Ashok Kumar Sivaram, is seeking a restoration of his residence and work permit. We're told that the General Jurisdiction Division of the High Court after a series of caution to the AG's representative to stop her unnecessary laughing and giggling, ordered her to apologize. But that's one side of the story. Now, if you go into the story, it says that the controversy surrounding the restoration of the Indian man's residence and working permits seems not to be over after the court order to the Ghana Immigration Service to grant the applicant's temporary residence permit was not complied with. Mrs. Ahmad told the court that though the court last made an order for the applicant to be given a temporary working permit, the GIS had nothing called temporary permit. When the judge sought to know what it could be called, she said the GIS only grants permits in ranges of 6 months, 1 year, and 5 years. She then told the court in the heat of the argument that the applicant had been issued with a passport retention slip which offers him a legal temporary status until after the mandamus application was heard. So that's the story. His counsel, lawyer Gary Nimako, is however denying that efforts are being made to grant the man the permit. Eric, this issue is still hanging. The president has been petitioned. The man is going to court. Is perhaps our state institutions not hearing what our court are saying?
Well, thank you. I mean, I honestly don't have the full details of this particular story. It has been a bit sketchy in terms of the position of the gentleman, the Indian gentleman, and the Ghana Immigration Service. But I would also state that, I mean, in matters of immigration, also even borders of national security, right? And I believe that the reason why some of the details are not out there in the public domain is because there might be certain things that are not necessarily meant to be consumed by the general public. I honestly feel that there's also ways around this, that some sort of backroom conversations or negotiations should be done so that it doesn't create a certain perception that we are not welcoming to either investors from everywhere in the world, or also give the perception that we have such weak systems that people can come into this country and do whatever they like. So there's a fine balance between making sure that we give that sort of outlook, that we are welcoming our laws and rules and regulations work, and we are governed by the rule of law, and also maintaining a certain sense of sovereignty, and that this is not a country where you can just come in and do willy-nilly what you want. So it's a fine balance, but the most important thing is that once it's in court, what it means is that it will definitely get to its logical conclusion,
right? And
we would not be talking about it after that.
Right. I'm grateful. Mr. Malba, so this is the situation. The Immigration Service kind of not heeding to the call of or the ruling of the court to give the man some permit to allow him to stay and fight his case.
As a lawyer, let me comment on my colleagues giggling in court. It's unprofessional. It is in bad taste. Sometimes, and this is my first time of hearing a lawyer giggling at a judge. Sometimes it is done to colleague lawyers. When you are on your feet making your submission, then the other lawyer would want to ridicule you by making giggles and those things. It is bad. It's unprofessional. And I'm happy the judge took her to the cleaners. But you see, I'm tempted to say that the MPP government seems not to be respecting court orders. This is not the first time. Apart from the Buzier no court, under Kufuor's administration, this same immigration, there was an order, and I'm talking about the case of Odar Okai. There was an order directed at the immigration to reinstate him. They defied that order. Today, this matter has been going on for some time now. The court has made a number of orders regarding to reinstate, to give the businessman
a temporary residence permit.
A temporary residence permit, or to regularize his stay in Ghana, because he has a lot of businesses which is employing people in Ghana. You are frustrating not only the man, but you are frustrating the court as well. His lawyer, who is an MPP man, has indicated that.
Has Gary told you he's an MVP?
Why the Gary is an open secret? You people, I don't know why you like.
Well, you are just. Is the guy? Did he tell you that he's an MVP?
That actually, if that is true, that actually debunks this assertion that this government is not.
Okay, Mr. Ababa, you go on. If Gary has told you he's an MPP man, that's fine. Go on.
So Gary, who is an MPP man, has indicated that what the state prosecutor or state attorney is saying is not true, because they've not kickstart any process to attempt to regularize the stay.
That's why he need a permit to.
Now I'm hearing the state attorney indicating that they have granted the applicant what they call
passport retention slip.
That's
what has been given to him.
Passport retention slip, yes.
And that makes him a legal
and that
person.
He can stay here, and processes are being done to ensure that the stay of the investor is regularized. But we have been at this. For how long will this continue? Regularizing somebody's stay from a court order, and it's taking this much? I think time has come for the court to crack the whip. If it thinks that the officers are not respecting its orders, they should be cited for contempt. And that's the way to go on this matter.
I'm grateful. Let's wrap up on this one before Johnny is here. Johnny, quickly come in and let's take some comment and we'll wrap up with this one.
Yes,
court reinstate 300 sacked youth employment workers. That's what we're told. The court has asked that issue be dealt with. Johnny, quick, and then we can
absolutely
wrap up on this one.
Thank you very much. And Alassane Wanwanaiwa says the commencement of a free SHS education for all Ghanaians has come to affirm the MPP's cherished desire in making education accessible to all and sundry. We have now realized the free SHS policy isn't a mere rhetoric, but a reality that has come to stay. God bless Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo from Masaudu Bantama said Durban. He says, anytime I hear NDC members say that his or a child did not get school placement, then my heart starts beating. It makes me feel like telling such a person to wait for 20 years to come, as they claim by their propaganda team. But thank God, MPP is a serious government, not a government who spends a huge amounts of money on buzz branding. Free SHS is here to stay. Hashtag Ghana Bay. Good morning, TV3. Change has come and it has affected everything in Ghana. My brothers and sisters, the warning signs are on the wall. Think deeply, because it is only a fool who would believe Nana Addo and his 419 government. Osman Brugsan in Tamale. The free SHS needs no further billboards. It has taken off, and if it meets the expected outcome, the beneficiary must make the necessary notice about it. Those billboard monies should be used to get national health insurance for the beneficiaries of the free senior high school. Mark Spencer, Kojo. Good morning, TV3. I'm not against free SHS, but the question is, are the children going to teach themselves when we have a ban on recruitment of teachers? Why can't we use the money to recruit teachers? Are the children also going to complete without employment? It's a shame. Educational reforms are being politicized. Hashim from Kombungu. Free SHS is here, and yet the teacher's salary arrears are over 4 years, have not been paid. It is well, you say. Justice Odumasi Krobo. Good morning. We are reopening basic schools tomorrow, yet the newly trained teachers are not posted, and the government is reluctant in communicating to us when they will do that. Abiru Paul, Upper East in Yorogo. Hi, Johnny Brighton. I agree with the idea of reviewing the syllabi of SHS, because the current contains a lot and the time limit for studying is short. I think we learn a lot of things at SHS which is not relevant for our future. Savior in Gove Town. Good morning. I'm Joseph from Davrongo. Says, with the issues of teaching syllabus, the big problem starts at the various teacher training colleges. You can imagine going to college to offer about 42 courses to come and be the basic a teacher at the basic level. How many of them do we teach at the basic level? Something like music and dance, PE and others. Is this free senior high school going to be effective at all? Won't it be like how they have done to the basic schools? Even capitation grant is difficult to pay to the basic schools. It has been in arrears for more than 1 year now. Ghana, what are we doing to our educational system? But instead of restructuring the basic schools, well, for the basic schools to be strong, look at what is happening. Oh God, have mercy on us. Aaron Setre from abroad. Which part of abroad? The gap between the haves and the have-nots is about to be bridged as the most important policy that put the poor and the rich on the same pedestal starts today. Alaji Mponi Owa Asiedu-Dartey Owa says the syllabus should be changed, starting from the JHS, SHS to the university level, because after school students should be able to fix into the job market. As it stands, students do suffer because of the courses they pursue at their basic level to the tertiary level. South Korea in 1960 adopted an educational strategy focusing on SHS level, thereby training students on handiwork instead of secondary education, which eventually pushed them to where they are today. Asiedu-Dartey, thank you. I think for now, a syllabus at the SHS level should be maintained. It will help students with basic knowledge on subjects that they aren't majoring. And to those who want the syllabus to change, what should it be changed to? He's asking Ernest Mangwa. Say, good morning, Bright. Our educational system directly translates to the kind of sickness Ghanaians get. We get a bit of everything. Each Ghanaian suffers from not one type of sickness at a time because our educational system teaches us not to concentrate, but to be jack of all trades and master of none. We'll continue to have challenges with the free SHS policy until our politicians begin to delink politics from education. It was the issue of 3 years duration, changed to 4 years, and now back to 3 years. We should avoid the unnecessary political expediency and have a clear national policy on secondary education so that political parties don't keep changing policies just to gain political points. Imran Alasan in Tamale, and I still can't comprehend why this current government is rushing to implement free SHS when it's vivid. The challenges are outweighing the rush. I think government should not rush to destroy the standard of education in Ghana. In fact, this rush is bizarre, so to speak. Alaji Willie P. in the Fiekuma. And Incho Diel Jacob from Kologo says, I want to find out from the NDC communicator the number of students they paid fees for in their progressive education. He is also talking about the MPP not starting with all the 3-year groups in the free SHS policy. Which year group they themselves start in the progressive education? We voted for free SHS with the MPP one promise, but not for free first-year SHS. They should admit they should admit that they did not tell the voter the truth. Mimic in Tamale, and perhaps 2 more. Good morning, all. Eric should stay on point. The minister promised Ghanaians that 50% of monies would hit the accounts of all schools by Friday. They keep shifting the goalpost. Eric should tell us what happened to Nanado's construction of houses for the Kayayes. IB wants to know. Good morning, TV3. Free SHS is a good thing, but I will appreciate when we forgo politics in its implementation. Let's see this project as a constitutional obligation so we can move on with it. Johnny, please tell the government that my school's name has been eliminated from the placement system as a result of free SHS. What's your school's name? You didn't add that. JB Islam says free SHS, Yazo, Mungo Day, Nanado. That's it.
All right.
Grateful. Right.
Johnny, we're grateful for time. Keep them coming. We'll read them when we have the time to. Let's wrap up on this one, a quick one. A court has reinstated 300 sacked YEA workers. The Labour Division of the Higher Court on Friday annulled a directive given to some 300 workers of the YEA to proceed on leave. Now, according to the judge, the manner in which the management of YEA issued the directive was illegal. The judge also said management did not give any reason for the proceed on leave order. Mr. Malbai, a quick wrap up on this one.
Yeah, you recall that when the government took over, as part of their policy to take people they perceive as NDC out of offices, the YEA directive came that some persons perceived to be NDC should go on transfers. Now, these transfers were perceived by those people as harsh, as a form of punishment. Some of them were not just only transferred. When you were transferred, if you were a district director, if you got your new position, you were now reduced to, say, a monitoring and evaluation officer. So apart from the transfer being unfair, or it was seen as a harsh transfer, you would also notice that people were also reducing rank.
Right.
And so they proceeded to court, and the court held that no, sometimes you may not even dismiss somebody, but the way you would make it difficult for that person to even stay in the organization to work may amount to a dismissal. So what the people did, what the YEA executives of management did, was against the rules and regulations of the YEA, because the YEA is governed by rules and regulations. And if you are going to be transferred, you follow the rules and regulations. So the court looked at the facts and said that the order for them to proceed on transfer to various places must be held back, and this is just a temporary order. After the final determination of the case, we will now know the way forward.
I'm grateful. Eric, our court perhaps deepening our democratic process?
Well, I mean, it's evident that we are a country governed by the rule of law, and that I'm happy that when these things happen and they get determined by the court, we don't necessarily have to split hairs on this one. I mean, it's unfortunate that my brother here would attempt to make any sort of political or take some kind of political mileage out of it. But the point is very simple. The YEA has a new administration, and they believe that certain people would have to go on leave or for some investigations to be undertaken. And also they found it prudent to also do some kind of restructuring, so get people to be transferred from one place to the other and all that. I don't see anything fundamentally wrong with that. If the court suggests that it was done in an illegal manner and that it has to be rationalized and done in a proper way, so be it. I mean, we all learning every day. But to suggest that you go into an institution and you have absolutely no right to either make changes or try to do some kind of restructuring to fit the vision of the president who has given you that opportunity, for me, I think it's laughable. And that also speaks to the insincerity of the NDC and even the double standards. Because I don't want to go back to try and, it becomes this whole idea of equalization and all of those things. But for him to even sit here to suggest this, it's laughable. The point is very simple. It's gone to court. And he's a lawyer. Right? So the fact that it's gone to court and one determination has been made doesn't mean that that's even the end of it. You understand? Because the YEA also has an opportunity, right, or has a right to even seek further clarification from a higher court. So for you to sit here and make it, then why don't we reside in the jungle and say that we have no rules and regulations? You understand? So it's the right thing for the affected, right, for the affected to go through the court processes. It's also the right thing for the YEA to also seek the further determination somewhere. Yeah, so why do we have the courts in place in the first place? That is a bit
what they are saying is that you breach the rules.
But so what is the point? Why are you a lawyer in the first place?
All right.
Because there's a court.
I'm saying that
I'm grateful.
They have breached the rules. That's what they are saying, not that they are not.
All right. Gentlemen, I am grateful for your time this morning. And Eric Amakuchum is a Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, a member of the NPP's communication team. Grateful for your Monday morning. Abraham Maliba is a lawyer and a member of the NDC's communication team too. Grateful for your morning too. And those of you who sent in your comments, we're grateful for your time with us. Stay with us. There is sports after this.
Games. I would think it was an eventful weekend for the Ghanaian players. Thomas Partey getting in the mix again, another man of the match performance from him, and then Kweja Samuel and the likes were also in action. But let's start off with Thomas Partey in Spain. What form he is on. He scored a goal before, on the international break, and then scored 4 goals for Ghana in the double header against Congo. Now another man of the match performance against Valencia.
Well, I think that it's only good for him. He's moving on the right path. And if I were Diego Simeone, seeing Thomas Partey hit a hat-trick for Ghana, I mean, obviously I'd start him in a game against Valencia, which, isn't too tough a game for his side to be able to win. But although they were not able to win, Thomas Partey puts in another performance that showed Diego Simeone that the boy is ready for the big time, and that's just good for him. And that 0-0 draw and him getting 90 minutes is only a spell of good things to come for him, because if you read the reviews, if you listen to the Spanish journalists, he was in top form for his side.
Obviously in top form, but just one of the players who were in top form. Another player player who returned to first team action in his team was Kojo Asamoah. He has returned to that particular, first team, but as Juventus. But the problem here is the fact that he knows the position he occupied over the weekend is one that is already taken by Alexandro. Injuries and suspensions would mean that he would get stints in that particular one. But it was a very good turnout for him then.
Well, I think it was a good turnout for him, and for him to get 90 minutes in a side that's, he has become somewhat a second fiddle to Alexandro.
He's become a fringe player all of a sudden.
Exactly, and it's quite worrying to see Kojo Asamoah in that position. And I, for one, expected him to make that Galatasaray move, but Juventus had to block that move in the very final end.
You think it's because Juventus had plans for him, or it's just because of the money?
That only gets me to think that Juventus might have plans for him this season. It's a long season. There might be, and as you mentioned, there might be suspensions, there might be card offences and all of that. So he might come into the side. And mind you, he's a very good player, very vital player for them. In all of those Serie A titles that they've won, Kojo Asamoah has been instrumental in all of them. So it's only good that he stays in the club. Although he might not get a lot of playing time, I'm sure Max Allegri would have something to do for him, within the coming weeks and in the coming matches.
He is definitely not Juventus' Paulo Dybala, but he's one player that they definitely would have to count on. He's versatile enough to play left midfield, left back, central midfield, anywhere on the pitch. As far as it's not goalkeeping, Kojo Asamoah can fill the void for you. But let's move away from that. Let's go straight to the English Premier League then, because there were games for some Ghanaians. Daniel Amate, even after N'Golo Kante and Danny Drinkwater exited the King Power Stadium, Amate can still not get minutes competing with the likes of Wilfred Ndidi. But Leicester City lost against Chelsea. We'll get to that game. Let's focus on the Ghanaians. Jordan Ayew came up against Christian Atsu. Atsu didn't start the game, came on later on in the second half. But again, another very good turnout for Ghanaians.
Well, it was a good turnout for Ghanaians. I think that for Jordan, started the game, looked very sprightly, aside the fact that he was reported to have been ill within the weekend.
So he was fit again.
He was fit again to play for Swansea. And I think that, generally, he delivered a very good performance, a very good account of himself, actually. And to think Paul Clements actually gave him a lot of minutes to stay on the pitch only goes to tell how much he believes in him and he wants him to do well in there. Christian Atsu came on in the very last minutes and he was excellent, in my opinion, because Rafa Benitez needed him to keep the ball a lot and not try to or keep the ball and get players into him and give out a proper link-up play with Matt Ritchie. And he did that, very well for his side. And that was what, Newcastle wanted, and then they got from him. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll think that it was a good day out for the Black Stars, probably 6/10 for Jordan, and then for Christian Atsu. But you're hoping to see Andre in the setup for West Ham today.
We'll get there. But let's spend a few more seconds on Jordan Ayew then, because now they have Wilfred Bonny also in the side. They've got Tammy Abraham, the chap on loan from Chelsea. Obviously, they may have given Chelsea some assurance that Tammy Abraham will be getting more minutes, just for his progress. Jordan Ayew has proven himself crucial. Who is going to suffer among the three strikers? Or you think that all three can be played together?
Well, I think that, for the faith Paul Clement has shown in Jordan, he's a man who will stay on the pitch. Probably there will be changes between Tammy Abraham and Wilfred Bonny. But for Wilfred Bonny, yesterday, he came on to a very rousing welcome. I mean, the Swansea fans remember.
He's almost a legend in that
He's almost
side,
a legend in the side. He played 70 times for them the last time out, scored 34 goals. And that's a good return for a player who plays for Swansea.
Of course.
So they were very excited to have him back. And I'm sure Paul Clement is also quite excited to have him back as well. A wealth of he carries bags of experience with him. So I'm only looking to see how he will play together with Tammy Abraham. He might play them in, if he wants to change his setup or formation a bit, he might play them in a two striking role, the same way Jesus and Aguero plays. But I think that he is the one who will suffer, because Jordan provides a lot more than just scoring goals.
I think that's one thing we need to look at. I think that slowly he's evolving from being the out-and-out striker to being a supporting striker, more like a winger sometimes, a creative player sometimes, a Willian, a Pedro, a Mkhitaryan sometimes.
Exactly.
Slowly, are we witnessing Jordan Ayew's evolvement in football, turning from a striker with all the pressure of scoring goals to their creator? Because in the Black Stars, he's not exactly the main striker.
He's not exactly the main striker. And that's what a lot of people have complained about. Anytime you play Jordan as the main striker, the number 9, the team suffers. And I think that it's high time we get to know that. Paul Clement has found a remedy, placing just behind Boney or Tammy Abraham, sometimes puts him out on the left. And they have a lot of faith in him because anytime Tom Carroll got the ball, he just looked out to the wings to see where Jordan is.
He's been creating the chances,
exactly, to get him the ball.
And now having the help of Renato Sanchez, there's going to be a lot to look out for when it comes to Swansea City. But that's it. Then let's go straight to his brother, Andre Ayew. He's a man who has been much criticised both at club level and national level because of drop of form. The man, after his injury last year, has not exactly looked the same. Some even say before the injury, he was not exactly the same old player that we have come to know. I mean, from 2009 Under-20 World Cup. Thing with Andre is that there are reports in England saying that he could be dropped, in West Ham United's game against Huddersfield tonight, and that's a Monday Night Football in the English Premier League. What exactly do you make of that?
Well, I mean, as a Ghanaian and knowing Andre's quality, it gets me a bit down that Andre is in this sort of position. I'm not sure he has ever been in a position like this where he has been a center
serious drop of form.
He has been a center of criticism for everybody. But I think that it's high time Andre takes a good look at himself in the mirror. He needs to try to big himself up again. He's a man full of confidence for himself. But
what is Andre Ayew's position? Can you please help me with that? I mean, he plays as a striker sometimes central attacking midfielder, as a left winger, right winger.
That's quite a difficult question. Quite a difficult question. I mean, a lot of people will struggle to tell you where Andre is best placed in the team because even in this season, he has been playing in different positions in Slaven Village.
And now he's going to be competing with the likes of Marko Arnautovic, Lanzini, Chicharito. That is if he wants to strike. There are too many players in the position. There are too many players in the positions that he can occupy. And the problem is he's not an expert of any, but more like a general